Hi, pretty little lifters. Today I'm joined by PE educator and the creator of the community PhysEd Girls, Cait Davis. I found Cait on Instagram and I loved seeing her share about all the fun things she was doing in elementary school PE. And it's been so cool seeing her platform evolve to now PhysEd Girls, which is a PE education community where she shares daily PE teacher life, outfits, lessons and activities, gym decor, and more. She also reshares other resources or ideas from other PE teachers that tag her, in which helps the community learn from each other too. Now let's welcome Cait to the podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Cait.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
It's one of my favorite things when I make friends with people through social media, and then we actually get to get on an episode of the podcast and like chat, because I'm like, okay, now we're like chit chatting, and I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, I know. I feel like you don't really get someone's personality through the videos we post, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you get like snippets in the story, but like getting to have a full on conversation is like a whole different story. So I'm here for it. I like this. So Cait, can you give us a brief intro about who you are, where you're from, and what you are currently up to professionally?
Yes. So I live in upstate New York. And I always say upstate because people hear New York and they think the city.
Yes.
But I live in the mountains, basically in the middle of nowhere. But I'm like 2 hours from the city. I love being outdoors. Growing up in the mountains, there's so much to do: hiking, skiing, everything like that. In the winter, we get all the months. So we have every season, which is awesome. And I feel like that's also why I like being physically active, because in the winter you can ski, in the summer you can swim. Like, you have all these different options. I teach pre-K now. We just started pre-K 2 years ago. So pre-K through 5th grade PE. And recently, about 2 years ago, I started a PhysEd Chick Instagram page, which morphed into PhysEd Girls because I wanted to bring more people into it. And it's just kind of blew up from the start. I feel like we don't have that many, PE people out there on social media. And it may have to do with, filming in schools or anything like that. But it just blows my mind how positive and awesome our little niche is, because putting things out there, you always think you're going to get something, someone critiquing you or having something to say. And I just feel like in our world of physical education, people are just so positive, and I feel like that's a true reflection of how important being physically active and having a healthy relationship with yourself and the people around you is. It just makes everyone happy.
Oh, that's so true. I love all the positive feedback that I have been seeing. You know what's so interesting? I think you are the third person that I have on this season that is from New York. So that means I'm actually quite impressed with New York's health and physical education, because y'all are pumping out a lot of awesome teachers.
We try.
That's amazing. So how did you get into PE? Is this a field you always knew you were going to get into? What was your path?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. I almost have two stories about it. So a lot of things lead you to where you end up. But when I was getting ready to go to college and making decisions, I'm the type of person who I love everything. I could work on a farm and be happy. I could be a waitress and be happy. Like, I just, I don't feel like you live to work. I'm more of like, I don't even think of it as work really, because I've always done things I enjoy. So with that being said, it was a hard decision. Like, what do I want to do for most of my life? Because you spend more time at work than you do with anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that I wanted to be a psychologist or like a counselor or something. And I was ready to go to college for that. And about a week before, I completely changed my mind, just because I didn't want to travel far away. My mom passed away when I was 14. And that was, I was going into 10th grade that summer, and I just wasn't comfortable like leaving my dad and my brother.
Yeah.
More that I just wanted to like, not be that far. So I had applied to college and I was going for psychology. And then the last minute I was just like, it just doesn't feel right. So I was like, now what do I do? I have like a week before everyone, like I was already accepted. I was going to leave. And my best friend, who I've been best friends with since I was born, she was going to the community college near us for physical education. So I was just like, well, I love PE and, you know, I could play soccer. It was community college. I could play soccer there. So I was like, I'll just do that for a semester and figure out what I want to do and get like the prerequisite classes out of the way. And I immediately loved it. And even making that decision, like, what do I could have went to community college for just general ed, but I was like thinking in my brain, I'm like, what, like the people who I see that are the happiest, what are they doing? And I immediately thought of my high school PE teacher, and he was actually my PE teacher from 4th grade on. Every
Oh,
year that my
wow.
grade, like when my class went to middle school, he wound up going to middle school. And when my class moved to high school, he moved to the high school. So
Amazing.
I would call him dad as like a joke. And he still teaches. And I work in my school district now that I went to. So I actually work with him. But he's a huge reason why I wanted to be a PE teacher, because he was always so happy. And you could just tell he really enjoyed what he did. And for me, like I said, you know, losing my mom at a young age, he was always there for me. And it wasn't the type of like check on me every day type thing, but he was a
Yeah.
consistent person in my life that if I was having a bad day, I could just be like, I'm having a rough day today. And he would crack a joke, or, you know, he made
Aw.
it kind of like brought me back to where I needed to be all the time without even knowing it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So all those things really led me to where I am now. And I almost feel like with that, it's like you're almost like a psychologist, right? Like he
Yeah.
was there for me as a PE teacher, and now I'm there for so many other kids. You know, who doesn't get their day turned around when they're in PE? Like they're always happy
Yeah.
when they leave us. So I kind of get to do both. So it works out.
Exactly. And that's interesting because my undergrad is in psychology, and I've shared
Oh,
before that,
wow.
yeah, I've shared before that I started out pre-med at UC Irvine, and then I started taking all these science classes, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be a long road." Kudos to everyone who does it. I was like, I'm ready to like get in the trenches now and like start the thing I want to do like now, because I just had the
Yeah.
energy and motivation. So I switched to psychology, and I was trying to take a lot of like child development classes, like whatever I could do. And then got into like teaching, and same thing, like I use a lot of that knowledge and skills that I have like in
Yeah.
my job. And we're not official counselors, but I feel like one very often.
Yes, we really are. Mhm.
Yeah, but no, that's so great. And I just love your attitude about like loving what you do and like not working
Yeah.
for like those, and that's the hardest part. And I think that's and that is one of the reasons why I did want to become a teacher, because I was like, okay, it's a pretty cool schedule, right? Because I want to be able to like live my life and have fun and do things on the weekend, and have like summer's my favorite season. And I was like, wait, I
Yep.
gotta like not work in the summer. Granted, we don't get paid, but
Right.
it's a trade-off, and I'm willing to take that.
Yes.
um no, that's
Yes.
awesome. So I found you on Instagram, and that's how we connected. And I
Yep.
would see your awesome elementary PE post. And honestly, you mentioned, there's not a lot of like PE teacher community or like content creators.
Right.
And I do feel like a lot of them are like elementary or like sometimes like
Right.
subject specific. But yeah, even me, when I started Pretty Little Lifters, I wouldn't really, and that's when I was still teaching elementary school when I started it, but I wouldn't really talk about like the teacher aspect until I think it was like my 10th year of teaching. Like that's when
Yeah.
I kind of started talking about it a little bit more. And it was mostly just the health and PE content that I was teaching
Yep.
to my fifth graders. And
Yeah.
then when I switched to PE, I was like, well, PLL is all about fitness anyway, so I might as well talk about my PE teacher life. And that's,
Yeah.
kind of how I found you. But, even though I teach high school, I liked following you because your energy and creativity. So tell me about the evolution of like you getting into content creation and how you kind of went from phys ed chick, which was mostly like you as a PE
Yep.
teacher, to like creating PhysEd Girls and how that came to be.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, I've worked in a few school districts trying to work my way back to be closer to home, because where I am, like schools are so far apart.
Hmm.
So I got a job. My first job was in Troy, and that's an hour away.
Oh,
So
wow.
driving an hour, working, driving home. And that was at a charter school as well, which I learned so much there, but I did want to end up in public school. So it was a good stepping stone. And all of my classroom management and everything came from that because they're so good with their professional development. But being an hour from home, I was like, this
That's
is
a
a lot.
lot.
It adds 2 hours to every day, you know? And I was working on my master's at that point, and I got engaged while I was there, so I knew I would be getting married and trying to start a family. So all of that stuff, you know. So then I moved a bit closer, but the next school I was at was literally at the top of the mountain near me, and I'm at the bottom. So like when it was snowing out, like travel is
Oh my
rough.
gosh,
And at that
sketchy.
school, yeah, at that school it was required if you're a PE teacher, you had to coach. So the only sport available when I worked there was basketball. So those games go so late because where we are, JV and varsity play together. So I would be
Hmm.
playing, you know, until 10 o'clock at night and then driving all the way down the mountain in a snowstorm and having to be back up there at 8 a.m. I was like, this isn't doable for the rest of my life either. Although I loved the school. It was a nice small school, great administrators, but you know, you want it to be the right fit. So learned there. And then I moved closer to home and now it's like absolutely perfect. So,
That's
but being at
amazing.
those other schools, I was always, because they were smaller, I was the only PE teacher in the school. So my lunch was different than everyone else's because usually you're off during the lunch periods if there's indoor recess or anything like that. With weather situations here, most gyms have that. So I was on my own. I didn't have anybody to bounce ideas off of. I usually ate lunch by myself because other teachers didn't have the same lunch periods as me due to scheduling. So I started to realize, like, you know, you're pretty isolated. So when I finally started working in Catskill and I was with someone else, I was like, what a difference it makes to come to work and have someone else, you know, even though we didn't team teach all the time, just someone else to be like, oh, check out what I saw. Or they would come in with new sneakers and I'm like, where did you get those? They're so cool. Or they'd have like a good lunch and I'm like, where'd you get that bagged salad? That looks delicious, you know?
Uh-huh.
So all those little things, I was like, everybody needs this. It's something that is really missing for so many of us that work alone. And whenever I post something, people are like, I wish I had a co-teacher. First of all, my co-teacher, if you've seen him in any of my videos, is like the funniest person on earth. So shout out to Eric Joyce because he's hysterical, but he makes work like it doesn't feel like work at all. And I was like, more people really need this aspect of their job because a job doesn't need to just be come to work, do your job as best you can and go home. You should be enjoying it. Or you, even when I'm not at work, I'm not telling anyone else to spend time doing this, but I'm like looking for new fun ideas and activities all the time because it's fun for me to do that, you know? And I have two daughters. Katiri's 6 now. She just turned 6 in January, and Avery's 4. She turned 4 in February. So seeing like they can do this now because they go to my school, and I'm just like, all of these kids deserve to do, you know, fun things that are teaching them to love to move their bodies. And you can never run out of ideas, but it's nice to not have to search for it. So now with that being said, so I was posting just under PhysEd Chick and I was posting what I was doing. And I
Yeah.
started to realize like I now that I have a PE account, I was getting pushed all these accounts of other PE teachers, which there's not many, but the ones that I was seeing, I was like, wow, their stuff is great. Like, I want to share that. So I would message them and be like, you know, do you mind if I post this on my story? So, and they would be like, of course, please do. You know, I'm trying to grow my page. And once I started doing that, it just was like wildfire going crazy. And I was just like, this is awesome. So I was like, I want to change the name now so people feel comfortable. So when I changed it to PhysEd Girls, now we do, you know, weekly things just to get more people. But on Monday, I give like a topic of the week. So this week it was grants, which that one was awesome. So I'll
Yeah,
probably
I was
do that
excited. I
again.
I saved that one. I was like, we're coming
Yeah.
back to this one.
Yes. Yeah. And there's so much out there, but like if you don't communicate with other people, you don't know.
Yeah.
So we just were awarded a pickleball grant. So I'm going to post about that this weekend. But on Mondays, we do a topic, and now we added Music Monday. So share songs that you like because we all need a good playlist, you know? And we know what everyone knows what their kids like. So now I feel like it's even helping the other students. And things like that. My mother-in-law just walked in. So it's just really cool. So the music Mondays, and then on Tuesdays we do Tasty Tuesday. So for that, we have people just post, any snacks or things they've bought at the store. Most of them are like high protein or, healthy carbs, things that PE teachers need to refuel their bodies, because I feel like of all teachers, like I'm snacking all day long between classes and things like that. And then on Fridays, some people wanted to do like a fit check Friday. So those are like 3 throughout the week that are consistent, that I feel like more people are posting, because they can kind of plan for it, snap a photo throughout the week, and then add to that. So it's really cool.
I loved seeing this transformation and seeing how it went from like your account to like, and I remember you were kind of polling people too. You're like, wait a minute, like, would you guys be interested in a
Yeah.
community, like sharing these things?
Yep.
And like you said, like so when I started teaching PE, I did have one other PE like colleague, and now we've
Yep.
grown to like a team of 3. But even within that, like outside of our district, it's super isolating. It just always feels like it's just us, like our little team, because we
Yeah.
don't really get to connect with even other PE teachers in our district. We don't have a lot of PDs.
Right.
So it's very interesting. And that's why I was excited to kind of open up more and like let people know, like, hey, PLL does fitness content, but I'm also a PE teacher. And it's been
Yeah.
so fun to connect with people like you and other PE health and health teachers, because I really do feel like it just is so fun to see what are other people doing. And
Yes.
I will say, I don't know if you noticed this, I do feel like there's a lot more people out there, especially in, sharing things in the elementary space
Yes,
than
definitely.
middle school and high school. And
Definitely.
that's why like it's so fun to see the elementary school stuff, but it doesn't always apply to me, but
Yeah.
I love knowing that it's happening.
Hmm.
And that's why like I am trying to be active about sharing, hey, this could be a really cool high school program for you. So hopefully
Yeah.
we can inspire more ranges of like elementary, middle, and high school to kind of I always kind of joke. I'm like, okay, middle school and high school teachers, we need to step it up because elementary is killing it. It's like killing it.
Yeah. Part of me wonders if it's like, elementary teachers are with little kids all
Yes.
day. So maybe they're going online at night because they're like, I need adult time to chat, like we need
Right.
to speak with
Yeah.
adults.
Yeah, no, that's so funny. So I can tell that you love being a PE teacher, but I'm sure,
Yes,
like, I've seen some posts online and I'm sure we can think of some pros and cons because there are pros and cons in every job. So I thought you and
absolutely.
I could like brainstorm together some pros and cons, especially you being in elementary, me being in high school. So I was
Yep.
thinking maybe we could start with the cons first and then we'll end on like a positive note on the
Yes.
pros. So as an elementary school PE teacher, what are some cons? And like we could just go back and forth.
Oof. So definitely, I feel like the biggest one is like you bring so much energy every day from 8:20 in the morning until 3:30 nonstop. Like I am
Yes.
even going crazy on my lunch. So exhaustion, like that's the biggest con. And when I was a little bit younger, like I'm 35 now, it didn't seem to bother that much. But now I have 2 of my own kids. So I wait to have my coffee until after school so that I can get through the evening with my own children with some energy. So I feel like that's the biggest one for me.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. That is one thing I didn't really think about or notice because I was like, oh, I'm fit, I'm active, I've been teaching for
Yeah.
10 years before I made the switch. And
Yep.
when I started PE, I was like, whoo, this is like a different level of energy. Like
Right.
I am nonstop. And then, oh, and the other thing is, and this would probably be one of my cons. I don't know how it is in elementary school, but like for high school, middle school, like the PE classes are very large,
Yes.
very
Same here.
large. And
Yep.
so this year, my biggest class is like maybe it's 45, but
Hmm.
in previous years, my biggest class was like 56. And
Yeah.
the energy it took to make sure everyone was safe and listening
Yes.
to instructions and doing what they were supposed to, like, it was like the anxiety definitely kicked in.
Yeah, same here. Like for us, our gym has 3 bays in it, but
Okay.
so we can have up to 3 homerooms in there at a time, technically. But there's when you split a gym into thirds, it's not enough space to do certain activities and be
Yeah.
safe. So I feel like that's huge because people are like, oh, it's such a big room, 3 classes can fit. But it's like now you have equipment being thrown around, they're throwing a ball or whatever. You can't be shoulder to shoulder and throwing a ball with kids who are
Yeah.
learning to catch and throw. So
Yeah.
that's
And I think
huge.
that kind of leads to another con is space. And
Yes.
there's inequities at every school. So like,
Yeah.
can you talk about space?
Yeah, so from having the PhysEd Girls page, people will be like, "You have a gym? I have to teach outside all the time," and I'm like, "Every day? They don't even have a gym." And
Hmm.
equipment too, like that's huge. If you're in a school district that doesn't have a lot of funds, you don't even have the equipment you need to teach your kids, and you have to think outside the box. And it's like they should all be able to have a ball to dribble with, and take turns with a partner, and you have 2 basketballs for 30, 40 kids. And that comes with the numbers again. If people might say they can fit, but it's like you have 2 baseball bats with 60 kids. You could have 4 baseball games going on, but you don't have the equipment for 4.
Yeah.
So I feel like they kind of tie together as well.
Yeah, the space has been pretty much one of the biggest issues I've had my whole PE
Right.
teaching career
Yep.
because when we were at our previous campus, we shared a co-location, like, so we co-located with another school. So they had like a full-size track, they had a swimming pool, they had a gym,
Wow.
they had a dance room. And so we were able to kind of rotate spaces we had full on tennis courts. Like it was
That's amazing.
glorious. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And even then, just like coordinating was always a thing. But now that we moved to our new campus, we do not have a full on gym. We have like a space, like there's a basketball court under like some type of structure, and there is a little field. It's not a full size track. It's like a 200-meter
Mhm.
track. There is a green space, which is great, but the gym space is not like a real gym. It's like a
Yeah.
classroom with an accordion wall, and
Oh,
one side
wow.
is the gym. So my gym space that I had, that was a really big space last year with all the weight machines or the
Yeah.
squat racks and everything. It was pretty spacious, and we're a little tight. We're a little tight now.
Yeah.
But I would say probably space, because the kids, like, if they can fit with mats, like my biggest class, like if we wanted to do mat Pilates one day,
Hmm.
I would just have to move, like pick up 2 of the racks and kind of squeeze them into each
Oh my
other, and then
goodness.
we can all fit. But I
Yeah.
mean, it's a tight squeeze. And
Yeah.
I would say that's probably one of the biggest cons. Like I had a student teacher come this past semester, and he came and and it's funny because it's all like perspective. So for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so much smaller. And he came to our school and he's like, you have all of this? And I was like, what do you have? And he's like,
Yeah.
a blacktop, a square of blacktop. And I was like,
Yep.
oh my gosh. And so you really do get to see the inequities from school to
Right.
school.
Yeah, I've learned so much from just having people comment and post on things like that. And then equipment storage as well. Everyone's like, I don't have a closet. What do you mean you have storage? And they just
Same.
have like a pile in the corner of their room with things. And I'm like, how many things do you like? We have so much stuff,
Yeah.
but keeping it organized is an issue because you don't want to use like we get a budget each year to replace equipment, but I don't want to use that to buy bins to put things in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No,
it's tough.
I feel the same way. Like we had so much storage at our other location, and this year we have zero storage. So we've been putting
Yeah.
things in the showers, which
Yep.
we need to move. And they just ordered us some like outdoor storage, which is great. But like in the meantime, it's just been literally a hot mess. Like just this is where it will live until it has a home, and
Yeah.
I'm not caring about making it pretty. Any other cons you can think of?
Hmm.
I thought of one, and I don't know if this doesn't happen as much now, but at our previous school it
Mhm.
did, because I think we had bigger spaces. We well, actually, kind of it does happen now. Randomly, we'd get to school, we'd have our lessons planned, and they'd be like, "Hey, we're using your space today."
All the time. Yeah. Our gym is actually there's an accordion there it's not an accordion wall. It's a full-sized wall, but it folds up between our cafeteria and gym. So when and there's a stage and it's like kitty corner in the cafeteria. So anytime there's an assembly or anything, a whole school event, they have to open our wall, but they'll do it in the morning. So all of our
Mm,
classes for that day have something else going on the other end, and balls are flying into the cafeteria. So you can't use it during the breakfast periods, the lunch periods, or anything. So that's huge as well.
yeah.
One just popped in my head too. Scheduling. So it seems like it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but like for us with two PE teachers, our schedule, so we team teach because our gym only splits into thirds and there's two of us. So there's two classes. So we don't want to use a third of the gym because then it's super small and then a whole section of the gym's not being used. So that just doesn't make sense. So instead of doing that, we just leave it open and we team teach. But I'll have, let's say, Miss A's class and he'll have Miss B's class together on a Monday. But then on Wednesday, I'll have Miss A's class, but he'll have Miss C's class. So Miss A's
Oh,
class already got the lesson, but Miss C's class didn't get it yet. So we have
that's
to
hard.
reteach. So it's up to us if we reteach it or slightly change the activity. But when that's happening every week, you're now a unit that should have taken 2 weeks is taking 4 weeks because you're reteaching each lesson twice. Um,
Yeah.
so that's the other thing. But there's things you can do to make that not, like, I'm on the scheduling committee to make sure that doesn't happen again. But it's something that sometimes you can't avoid.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So with high school, there's two courses. The students have to take 2 years of high school PE. It's Advanced PE 1 and Advanced PE Course 2. And they are technically supposed to be two separate courses. But because of the number of students we have, like we're still on the smaller side, like we have about 700 and something students. And the
That's
class
big for us.
schedule, yeah, and the class schedule, we can't have two separate courses. So
Yeah.
we combine them. So I have ninth graders with 10th, 11th, 12th graders because like it would just be like a really small advanced PE2 class. But the issue with that is exactly I've already taught all of them this for a whole year, and then
Yep.
they take the class again, but now I need to teach the new ninth graders everything. So there is a lot of repetition, but I mean, it's fine because they're going to need these skills anyways. And it's like
Right.
reinforcement. But there are
Yep.
times where I'm like, oh, I wish I could just start because they already are here, but
Right.
we got to go back here for the other students, you know? So
Yep.
there's that piece too, where I'm like, oh, I wish it could be separate because I could be doing so much more with this group,
Right.
but it just like doesn't work out. It's a 90-minute block. I need to catch these students up. These students like, and there's not enough space for me to be like, oh, you guys go lift while I
Yep.
explain this. It's like, there's no space. Like,
Right.
where do I do this? Okay. So I feel like we did have some pretty good cons that a lot of
Hmm.
teachers could relate to.
I feel like
What,
everyone.
what about some pros? What about some pros?
Oh, there's so many.
So
My biggest one is just as a teacher in general, like you get so much time like for your own family if that's your priority, right? So like when you're finished at the end of the day, it's just like when you're going to school. You still have quite a few hours at night. You have your weekends, you have your holidays. Like for me as a mom, that's more than I could ever ask for, you know.
yeah, I agree. Like, and I think too, it gives me time to do other things. Like I come home, I can take professional development courses if I want to make more
Yep.
money. I can work on Pretty Little Lifter stuff. I can go visit a friend for dinner. Like
Yeah.
I do love that there is that space for that. In terms of like PE specific pros, I love that we get to be, and here's the thing, I think sometimes there's a little bit of a misconception that like PE teachers just move and play with their kids all day and like get
Right.
to do all the activities. I was like, no, like I'm on my feet all day, but like when they're
Right.
lifting, I'm not lifting. Like I'm not
Right.
getting in 3 workouts a day. Like
Yeah.
I'm watching, I'm giving cues, I'm correcting, I'm walking around.
Yep.
So, but I do love that aspect that like I'm kind of on the go and moving around. And when
Yep.
they're walking around the track, so am I. Like,
Yeah, I could never have a desk job. Like my husband is an auditor for the state and he gets home and he's like, I need to move right now. And I get home and I'm like, I just want to sit for 5 minutes really quick, you know?
same.
Um, I think another one too, like being able to have a job that you're so passionate about, like if you are going to school for PE, you clearly love physical activity, and being able to inspire students to love it as well. Like my number one goal, I'm not trying to create the best soccer player or the best basketball player. I my number one goal throughout their entire time with me, which I have them from pre-K until 5th grade. So I get to watch them grow up. Like I get to help mold
Yes.
who they're going to be. And people like don't realize, like when we get a pre-K or a kindergarten student, they already have their personality at that point. Like I rarely, maybe occasionally like a life change or something, when they come in and they're in kindergarten and they're cracking jokes or they're silly or they're super energetic spinning around on the floor, they continue with those characteristics all through 5th grade. Like we know who they're going to be at that time. So like being able to help them figure themselves out as well. Like, and then you had a super energetic kid one year, the next year you're like, this student is just like that student. And you can kind of make connections in that way. Like what worked for them. I feel like by the time they get to middle and high school, obviously they're set with who they're going to be. And you have great relationships with students at that level, which I feel like that's probably one of the best parts is you form lifelong relationships. When I coached varsity soccer and I used to work in high school as well, I still speak with most of my players that I had, and living in this town, they all come back and visit and I get to see them. Some of them have kids now and I have them in school and I'm like, wow, that's so crazy. So that part of teaching the upper levels, I really liked. But in elementary, just what a difference I have with the students and getting to help them figure themselves out and become the best person they can be is just huge for me. And I do take so much pride in that because, you know, we have the best relationships as PE teachers. We have them every year. So they might move up, from 2nd to 3rd grade and their teacher might struggle forming a relationship. And we're that person that can be like, oh, they really love cars. That has nothing to do with PE, but we've had so many years with them to know what they really are passionate about and what really gets them wanting to talk to you, and we can help other teachers in our buildings with that type of stuff as well. If a kid's having a rough day, we often will be like, if they're going through a hard time, if they need a 5-minute break, they can come down to the gym quick. They can eat lunch with us if that's something that can help them. We have a student right now every Friday. If he does what he's supposed to do, I'll put it that way, he gets to come and eat lunch with Mr. Joyce and I. And like, we look forward to it every week because we know he's worked for that. And now we have such a great relationship with him. And I feel like those are, we don't have to do that, but I'm like, why would we not? Like
Yeah.
he's going to remember that for the rest of his life,
Hmm.
that someone cared that much to do that. So that makes him feel like, wow, okay, I am important. Someone cares. They cared enough to eat with me every Friday all year. Like that's big.
Yeah.
So,
No, I love that. That's so special. And it's true. And I think to add to that, one of my favorite things that I've been noticing in high school, because I have the kids for like 2 years, is I love seeing them get out of their comfort zone. I think that's one of the
mhm.
pros is like being able to see them develop as like, oh my gosh, I remember when they were like in 8th or 9th grade and they were like really timid or shy or like didn't want to pick up a
Yes.
barbell, and now they're teaching somebody else how to lift. Like, what?
Yep.
Excuse me? And
Yeah.
it's just like so cool to see, witness confidence growing and like just in general, and see
Mhm.
them, mature. And like, I think another piece, especially in high school, that I love is I love that PE is also their social time. And yes,
Yes.
sometimes it gets annoying when I'm trying to teach and I'm like, all right, like
Yeah.
just give me 10 minutes, give me 10 minutes. But I think it's so fun that we get to like play music. They get to talk
Yes.
with their friends. They get to move. I'm like, how cool is that? Like that. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'll just stand there and I'm like, this is my job.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
what?
Every
We're
day
like,
we're like, we get paid for this. Like, I don't
yeah.
even know.
I definitely have moments where I'm just like, this is so cool. I'm like watching kids lift and interact and build community. And like, that was one thing that I used to kind of question and about myself. Like, am I am I building community here at this school, like in my classes? And I remember that was like something I was kind of insecure about. I was like, am I connecting with them? Like, do they like this class? Like, I don't know. And then I would, at the end of the year, I always send like a Google form for feedback because
Yep.
I'm like, how can I make this better? What can I do?
Yeah.
And I would put a question like, what else can we do about community? Like, do you feel like we have community? And they would all be like, yeah, we have community. You're building, like, we have, and I was like, we do. Okay. Like, I wasn't sure, but I'm glad.
Yeah.
So it was a very, cool thing. But I think there's just so many, like, yes, with every job, we're going to have cons, but I think that
Yep.
the pros definitely outweigh the cons. And like, uh,
100%.
yeah. And they're just like, they like touch your heart and like give you all the feels. And it's like really
Yeah.
fun. Um,
Yep.
So if anybody's out there listening and you're thinking of a career switch or you want to get into this, there's lots of
Yes.
pros, especially for PE teachers. Like I'm very happy I made the switch to PE.
Yep. I'm sure you've heard that saying where someone was like, who's the smartest teacher in your school? And someone's like, the
Yes.
science teacher, the math teacher. And they're like, no, it's the PE teacher. Like they're having fun
Yes.
every day and getting paid
Yeah,
the same
they get
amount,
paid to play
you
and
know.
like have fun and listen to music. I was like,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, so my last question for you is what
Mhm.
advice would you share with your teenage self and teens today?
So there's so much advice I would give myself, but the biggest thing is find what makes you want to get out of bed in the morning, right? So like you have to find what you're passionate about and that's going to change. So you should be reflecting on it all the time. I liked your idea that you have a word of the year. That's so cool. But mine, I more just reflect every year and it's like, okay, what did I really love about this year? What can I do next year that is in that direction? What can I let go of that I'm doing, but it's not something that makes me be like, I want to get up so I can go do this really quick, you know?
Hmm.
But just keep trying to find what makes you want to get up in the morning. If you're going on vacation and you have to get up at 4 a.m. to get on a flight, people are hopping out of bed to go get on a 4 a.m. flight. If someone said you need to go get on a 4 a.m. flight to go sit in a meeting, no, you don't want to do that. So you have to find what that like vacation feeling is for you and keep chasing it and never stop because it's going to keep changing all the time.
Yeah. And I like that you shared that we are ever evolving and growing, and the
Yeah.
thing that you're doing may change. I mean, me thinking, oh, I want to teach elementary school forever, and then switching and being like, oh no, this is really cool. But guess what? I also know this is not it for me. Like there's probably going to
Yeah.
be another evolution of something else that I get lit
Yes.
up about or interested in. And like, yeah, that's just life. And I think embracing that is really important. I love that.
Yeah.
So how can we support you? Where can we direct people?
Follow PhysEd Girls on Instagram. I am working and share if you are posting anything PE related. It doesn't even need to be PE related, but something a PE teacher who are regular humans could use, whether it's a snack and you're posting it on Tasty Tuesday or an outfit on a Friday for Fit Check Friday, just hashtag PhysEd Girls. And if you're sharing in stories, use that mention button. And we would love to have anyone and everyone join and be part of PhysEd Girls because I don't want it to be just me. There's so many people out there who have such better ideas that I just want to share for everyone and make those connections and help everybody.
And I love how you always emphasize like this isn't just about me. I think
Yeah,
that's so important because you really are here to build a community.
right.
And I love that. Yay, Phys Ed
Yeah.
Girls. I'm here for it.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, Cait, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. And I'm so grateful for you and all you do in education and for your students and the community that you're creating for PE teachers. I think you're so awesome.
Thank you so much. And right back at you. I'm so glad we got a chance to chat.
Yes. And thanks to everyone for listening to the Pretty Little Lifters podcast. I'm going to share Cait's info in the show notes so you can support her and Phys Ed Girls. And I will talk to you next episode. Bye.